Hi, everybody. I'm Bruce Moody. I'm with Military, Community, and Family Policy. We're the ones who bring you Military OneSource. Every year, thousands of military members and their families move their households from one assignment to the next as they receive their permanent change of station or PCS orders. And so, along with that, the Defense Personal Property Program, DP3 for short, is a directorate of U.S. Transportation Command. And they are responsible for the successful execution of hundreds of thousands of personal property shipments each year that are so very much a part of these PCS moves. So we are joined today by Mr. Rick Marsh. He is the director of the Defense Personal Property Program. We're going to have a conversation about the upcoming moving season and what you can expect in the coming year, this year, actually. So, Ms. Marsh, welcome. It's great to have you with us today.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Well, last year was certainly a very different moving season than what we are typically used to. What do preparations look like as we're heading into the 2021 moving season?
Yeah, so I think I'll start with a recap of what happened last year. Right? I mean, as you mentioned, it was a year none of us were expecting, and it ended up being not as bad as a lot of us thought it was going to be right when the pandemic kicked off in March. We ended the year at about a 96% customer satisfaction rate. And again, a lot of things went right. I mean, we had really tight integration between the logistics and the personnel communities across the services. All of the service leaders, appointed a really talented group of family advocates to help us see ourselves a little bit better, identify priorities where we needed to spend some time and attention and make some rule changes. Really talented group of personal property professionals within the services at the installation level across the globe, solving problems for families. And then industry, right? Just working in some pretty tough conditions last year, did a great job at the curb, right? The folks that are really doing the heavy lifting in the program. And we have admittedly some companies that are asleep at the switch, and we're working to root them out. But there are some really talented companies that did just great work last year to deliver a quality experience. And while a lot of things went right, there was a lot of things that went wrong. And people had 4%. Folks had, some of them, just disastrous moves, terrible experiences. Given wrong information, not being treated with respect, their homes not being treated with respect. So as we think about all of the changes that we're making, all of our focus areas for this year, they really all of our preparations really boil down to four key imperatives. The first is protecting the force. All of the health protection protocols that we established last year remain in place. Respecting customers, right? This is certainly about a professional, respectful experience at the curb, but it's more than that. I mean, it's about just good customer service throughout the move. Having phone calls and emails returned in a timely manner. Not being left guessing when a moving crew is going to show up at your house or when your household goods are going to be delivered. Respecting people's homes and respecting people's belongings. We hire professional moving companies. We pay good rates. And we expect that we can get the basics right. So as we deal with industry, as we prepare for this moving season, those are the four things that we're really focused on. If we can do those right, and your military families have very reasonable expectations. If we can do those things right, I think we'll have a successful moving year.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Thanks for sharing those areas of focus. You did mention that protecting the force is a key imperative for the 2021 moving season. So can you tell us about the precautions and what families should expect of their moving crews for the season?
Absolutely. And all of the things that I'm going to talk about are required, right? So regardless of where you are and what local rules may or may not require, regardless of who's vaccinated and who's not, none of that matters, right? The rules that I'm about to walk through are requirements for military moves, regardless of where you are. And they're all things that last year they were kind of new, and now they're just things that of course we do that, right? And you see these things in every other aspect of life now. So that you should expect that when your moving crew shows up, they hand you a piece of paper confirming that everybody that's going to be working in your home that day has been screened for COVID in accordance with CDC guidelines. You can expect that while they're working in your home, that they'll wear a face covering. You can expect them to try to bring the smallest crew required to service your load in a timely manner, just to enable a little bit of distancing in your home. And you should expect that they show up, equipped to maintain good hand hygiene when they're in your home. All of this does go two ways, right? Families have a role in this. Families have a responsibility to also, offer the same respect to moving crews in terms of face coverings. If a family is sick, either you or someone in your home is sick, please reschedule your move. If you've been directed to quarantine, please reschedule your move. And then if there's something you're not comfortable with at any point in the process, please don't hesitate to contact your chain of command or your local transportation office to get them involved.
So you do mention that this goes both ways. So what role do families have in this process?
Yeah, so specifically in terms of the health protection protocols, we expect them to comply. We expect them to follow the same rule sets that we ask industry, that we mandate industry to follow, right? So again, wearing a mask is the biggest. If possible, we know it's not always possible, but if possible, having the fewest number of folks, of family members in the home goes a long way. If that's not possible to get them out of the house, having a place in the home where they can hang out while movers are working is appropriate. But in terms of, so it's those basics. The other role is knowing the decision authority that they have in the process, right? So it's the families get to decide who comes into their home, right? If they're not comfortable for any reason, if they're not comfortable, it is okay to stop the move and call your quality assurance inspector to get them involved, and we really encourage folks to do that.
So do you anticipate any delays due to the pandemic?
So there's no, directly related to the pandemic, no. There's no backlog from 2020. All the services have reported that everybody that they planned on moving last year has moved. But we are experiencing and do anticipate some delays as a result of broader delays in the global supply chain. So demand for transportation remains very, very high. Over the last several months, we've seen delays primarily on the West Coast ports, dealing with the influx of consumer goods. The ports are congested. The delays aren't as severe as they had been before, but they're still there. Last year, as a result of the pandemic, we increased transit times. We gave industry a little bit more time, upwards of 2 additional weeks to handle international shipments. We have maintained those transit time extensions for this year. You don't need to do, families don't need to do math on this. When they get their dates, when they get their paperwork with their required delivery date, those extensions are already accounted for. We are seeing, like a lot of sectors, moving companies are reporting issues with staffing, right? Challenges getting labor, getting fully staffed. In some big military markets, some of the big agents report being staffed at the 50 or 60% level, which you can imagine, right? It just slows down the amount of work that they can accomplish. In some locations, agents are already booked well into through July. And then the other thing we're seeing is the cost and availability of lumber. We hear about it all the time in the news in terms of new home prices, but it's impacting our program as far as crates and the wooden lift vans used for international shipments. So working with the services now to potentially dial back the use of containers for domestic shipments, just to make sure we have lift vans available for international shipments. And so the same advice that we give every year holds true this year, right? As soon as you get your orders, go see your transportation office to get your move scheduled to increase the likelihood of you getting the dates that work best for you and your family.
So what personal property changes should service members and their families be aware of for this year?
Yeah, we implemented several changes that I think are worth highlighting. Nothing groundbreaking. Just trying to get after the issues that families have highlighted as pain points and priorities for them. So the first is on communication. We've expanded, required that moving companies expand their customer service hours to include Saturdays during peak season. The peak season officially starts on Saturday, May 15th. So all the rules that I talk about, take effect for moves that are planned to pick up on or after 15 May. It may have been scheduled months ago, but anything picked up on or after 15 May, these rules apply for. So again, on the communication front, just having a human available on Saturdays to answer questions. I mentioned earlier the focus on just respecting people's homes. We've made residential property protections a mandate in this year's program, specifically protecting doors and floors and entryways in high traffic areas. Again, nothing groundbreaking. Many moving companies already did this without being told because it's a best practice. Many companies did not, and we wanted to have this as a standard practice. We know the last thing families want or need to deal with when they're trying to get out of town is having to repaint a door, fix a floor, particularly when that kind of damage is so easily preventable. On claims processes, we've made some changes. So last year we increased the time that families had to identify loss or damage. For a long time it had been 75 days, and we changed that to 180 days. And I highlight, this isn't a new change, but I highlight this because we've gotten some, I don't know if it's a rumor or myth or just bad information. I think it's probably just bad information that some offices are telling customers that, hey, this 180-day rule change, that was just because of the pandemic and we're back to 75 days. It's not true, right? So all shipments, whether it's been, all shipments now, 180 days to annotate instances of loss or damage. And then we've also put some controls around the timelines, right? How quickly your moving company has to finish your claim, has to process your claim. So anything under $1,000 needs to be processed within 30 days, and then all other claims have to be processed within 60 days. If you get an offer that you don't like, you have the ability to counter offer during a claim, and now your moving company has to respond within 7 days. Previously, there was no limit on when, how quickly a moving company had to get back to you. We've made some changes for your ability to settle quick claims. So if you see something getting damaged during the loading and unloading, previously the limit was, if the moving company was prepared to do this with you on the spot, you could settle a claim for up to $500. This year, it's $1,000. It doesn't preclude you from filing a claim on anything else in your shipment. You wouldn't be able to file another claim on that item that you settled for on the spot, but it doesn't prevent you from filing a claim for anything else. And I think one of the other big changes we made was the introduction of something called spread dates. It was called the 7-day spread, is what you hear a lot, where we have said that once a customer identifies their preferred moving date, there's a window that starts from then and goes forward 7 calendar days, and that's when a moving company has to schedule your pickup. Previously, there was no standard. Many moving companies gave customers the exact date they wanted. It worked very well. Many didn't, and customers ended up in prolonged negotiations over when the pickup date was going to be. So we've just added that rule, added that window to give families a little more certainty in scheduling their shipments.
So where can people go to get more information on moving safety measures?
Yeah, so a few places. So we have the safety measures, and frankly, all the information that I'm talking about today can be found on move.mil, which is the DoD's official site for all things personal property. We're migrating a lot of the content, mirroring the content on Military OneSource, just to prevent families from having to go to multiple sites to get information. You can look for an email from us when your shipment, when you log into DPS to schedule your shipment. Look for an email directly from us with several attachments, one of them being the health protection protocols that are in place. And I can't stress this enough, take advantage of counseling at the installation level, right? Go talk to a counselor. Whether it's your first move or your 15th, it's worth the time just to make sure that you're aware of the rule changes. And then just the nuances between shipments, right? Many of the rules I talked about apply to household goods and unaccompanied baggage shipments. Non-temp storage shipments fall under a completely different rule set, which is currently being updated to mirror the household goods rules. That won't go into effect until July of this year, 1 July, this summer. So I just really encourage folks to know what kind of shipment they have. Talk to your counselor so that you know what rules apply. And then if you ever have a question, along the way, go to move.mil. The resources that we send in that email gives contact information for the service help desks, for Transcom's help desk, and you can, as always, you can reach out to your transportation office for questions.
Excellent. So we'll take that move.mil. We'll put it down in the comment section so people can just click on it and get right to it. I'm retired Navy myself, done a lot of moves, and every move has plenty of firsts to it. So you get to where you have a learning curve with every single move. It has been a real privilege to talk to you today. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I just really grateful for your time. Thanks for having us here. I know we look forward to doing this several times throughout the summer to share additional information on having a successful relocation. If you have a question, if listeners out there have questions, please reach out to us. Again, our contact info on move.mil. Let us know if you have questions. Don't hesitate. I'm proud of the team that's working at Transportation Command. I'm proud of the team that's working within the services, both, again, the logistics and the personnel community. There's a lot of talented folks that know that moving isn't enjoyable. They know moving is stressful, and they're working really, really hard to improve the process for DoD families. So thanks again for having us. Really appreciate your partnership.
It's great to have you with us, and we'll be back to continue this conversation in the next couple of weeks. Excellent.